Yes, I'm Dieter Ebeling from DPA, the German press agency. Minister, the development of the Afghan security forces as planned by your government is perhaps the most important part of the transition as far as the Afghan side is concerned. And there is a fund by NATO members and other countries to support that financially. And we know that a lot of money is needed, and if my recollection is right, the money so far pledged to that fund is far behind what military and political people at NATO say is necessary. Was there any indication that the international community is in fact preparing to support the reconstruction of the Afghan National Security Forces as it is necessary?
Sure. There was actually an announcement that came at the end of the meeting from the Republic of Korea of a substantial contribution over the next few years, and I'll allow them to make the announcement. But so I won't give you the exact details, but you might want to follow it up with them. You may recall at the Defence Ministerial, Secretary Gates challenged the rest of NATO to find €1 billion for this security forces fund, and Secretary Clinton echoed that challenge today. And there is an ongoing effort to try and secure those resources. At the moment, the NTMA, the total going into the Afghan security forces, is primarily provided by the United States. The NTMA budget for the Afghan security forces is something over $12 billion a year at the moment. A lot of that is on infrastructure and other one-off costs, but our expectation is that after 2014, the total requirement for the Afghan security forces will be something in the region of $6 to $8 billion a year, and we will be seeking contributions from across the alliance, indeed across the whole coalition, to meet that gap until the Afghans can, of course, sustain that requirement themselves, which on present projections, I think the IMF estimate will be sometime in the early to mid-2020. So there is going to be a requirement for about a decade of funding. We're working on that, and obviously as 2014 approaches, then it will become a higher point on everyone's agenda to secure all those funds.
Can you give us a figure on where we stand now as far as this fund is concerned?
Off the top of my head, I can't actually, just because I can't remember it.
I just want to add something to that. That one of the things that we're discussing with the international community and our allies is to invest in the Afghanistan infrastructure and mineral potential, because we want in coming 10 years to be able a country self-sufficient economically, so we can take care of our army ourselves, we can take of finding job for ourselves, and so we need to use and post-2014 also, when the military support is reducing, we need increase in the investment and infrastructure and mineral resources in Afghanistan. So in one side, Afghanistan will be enough money to support its army and its institution, but also will benefit those countries who have helped us so far to take benefit from investment in Afghanistan.
Let's go back to another Afghan journalist, and then we'll go back to another foreigner.
Sir, most of the Afghans see the transitional process as a return of the Taliban. How can you approach the Afghans see about this? I also one of Mr. Minister, having be shortly, how much you can count on a Pakistan contribution over the peace process in Afghanistan?
Can I do the first question? In terms of the transition process, the transition process is conditions-based, and the fundamental condition, there are quite a lot, but the fundamental condition is whether the Afghan security forces in an area to be transitioned can deal with the threats that exist. Now, of course, those threats can be reduced, both by direct military pressure, but also if there is some kind of local reconciliation process that resolves whatever tensions, whatever disputes have driven the insurgency in that area in the first place, and which the Taliban have exploited. But overall, our goal is that the Afghan security forces can, as the Minister said, provide the security for Afghanistan against both external and internal threats. That is not conditional upon reconciliation. Obviously, if the peace process is successful, then it will both reduce the risks to transition, reduce the risks to the overall campaign, and bring forward, in some areas, the pace at which transition can happen. It's not determined by it. We will be able to transition authority to the Afghan security forces countrywide by the end of 2014, even if the insurgency continues. And that's something the Taliban need to understand. The peace process is a genuine offer by the Afghan government, but success in transitioning authority to the Afghan government does not depend upon that, and they don't have